All right, folks. Well, thanks for sticking with me despite my bizarre scheduling. Uh, I forgot that I could sign in here in the StreamYard and see the chat, and everybody's wondering where in the world I am. I initially meant to schedule it for, I already forgot what day, but I meant to schedule it for like my usual 6:30, and then it was for like 11:15, and I don't even know how that happened, and I've gotten busy and I got not all of my stuff. I got enough of my stuff done today, and I realized, you know what, this would be a good time to fit in a little live stream, a little catch up. So sorry to keep you guys hanging. Catch it when you can. It's all good. Um, so let's see. I got to figure out where I left off. Let's talk about the Pick Tennessee conference. That was not last weekend, but the weekend before, 13 days ago or something like that. That was over in Franklin, Tennessee. I was invited out there by the Farmer Veteran Coalition that my friends Ron and Brenda Bridges are members of, and they're good friends, fellow farmers, neighbors, just over the ridge, and they invited me out there to give two different presentations. We did one on my personal tips and techniques and such of frugal homesteading. And then I also did one all about basically early lessons learned in running these sheep. And it was at a Marriott in Fancy Pants, Franklin, Tennessee. And guys, Um, I could not remember the last time I was in an actual hotel. I think it's been 7 or 8 years. Uh, Hey Pippin, yeah, it. I got all kinds of sideways. I scheduled it. I couldn't get to it. I misscheduled it. And then I realized I had time today, so I'm making it happen. I don't know. We had terrible weather and then really good weather, and then I just kind of went balls to the wall taking care of business with warm, dry weather. And there were a couple times I was like, oh yeah, I need to do a show, and then I was off to the next thing. So I'll do better. I'll do better. Um, Probably going to try to push them back to Sundays next week. But we've got our gathering coming up this Sunday. And I'll be honest, after having people up here for a few hours, um, I'm most likely going to go hide. So we'll pick it up when we pick it up. But in the meantime, I'll get you guys caught up on the 90% of what I can remember that I've been into. So the conference was wonderful. I was happy with how my presentations went. I enjoyed a kind of a different crowd out there. So there's a lot more like agro industry people there. Um, and the organic stuff was pretty well represented. Few of us in the regenerative space, lots of great vendors, picked up a ton of materials for stuff that will make a lot of my installation work go smoother, including an irrigation and supplier company that I can call up or just go online, order everything. They will slap it all on a pallet and they will ship it to my job site. I don't have to go to Home Depot and try to find stuff. I don't have to go over to Site One and try to find stuff. If I need, like, if I'm doing, like I said, any kind of garden irrigation, all kinds of other things of that nature, I just tell them what I need and they put it together for me. So can't beat that. And then I just have a nice, clean, simple invoice to take care of my billing when I go to get paid. So yeah, uh, had several interesting conversations. I actually spent most of my time at my table. I only sat in on a couple of presentations, and there were a lot of presentations. This is a big event. There were like 4 or 5 rooms that there were presentations going on in. But there was so much traffic through the vendor spaces that I just stayed put so I could talk to everybody who wanted to stop by. I'm accustomed to doing these kind of homesteading events and preparedness events and things like Self Reliance Festival and the workshops and stuff that are a little more geared around prepping and that subculture, if you'll call it that. So this time around, this was a little more. People are like, hey, I'm running a farm and I want to know more ways to make money from my farm. And that was when my frugal homesteading talk was pretty well attended, because I had a lot of people that were looking to maybe not make as much money, but certainly keep more of their money on their farm and on their homestead. And we do that by not spending so dang much. So I threw out every single tip and technique that I've developed over the years to get you there. And I'm pretty sure I've done a show on that. So if you search it, you should be able to find something along those lines. If not, I will. If I haven't, let me know and I'll do one, because I've got a really good outline and notes from that. The sheep class is also well attended. Uh, one of my snags that I have with these presentations, especially the ones that are only 45 minutes long, is that I always feel like I'm not conveying all the information I want to convey. And my friend Wynn Miller was there, Wynn, who we'll be doing a class with here this weekend. And she was like, Carrie, don't worry about it because you can't. Like, it's literally impossible. You have to just decide what is most pertinent and relevant to that situation, kind of figure out where people are at, and gear it towards that. Because I have like this mental snafu where I'm really concerned that I'm going to leave out something critical. And this is why it takes me so long to pull together notes for my site visits and such, because even though I have like a protocol that I follow to try to minimize that, I'm always worried I'm going to leave something out. And this actually, I remembered, it's silly how I've held on to this particular habit, but this actually comes from, of all things, I think this comes from when I was working on the truck and we're doing our documentation of a call. We were taught that you document that call, that patient care report, in such a way that if you were ever pulled into court over it 5 years later, which can and does happen, for any reason, not that you did anything wrong, but if you were just to show up in court to describe your part of that incident or whatever, that you had the documentation to back up, because you're not going to remember it. You think you will, but really you won't. And so I've got like this habit of being super detailed and thorough, and apparently that's carried over into this new thing of mine. So so that was good advice from Wynn. So I'm going to try to worry less about that, because honestly, it's not like people can't reach back out to me and ask follow-up questions and get further details on things like that. So good to know. I don't need to worry about that so much. So I was there for Wednesday evening and Thursday and Friday. Said it was nice crowd, big crowd. Um, some of the folks who stopped by my table, it was interesting because one lady was like, she said, I've got a bunch of questions that I think you might find weird, but I want to ask them anyway. And frankly, it's the kind of questions I get when I'm around a bunch of preppers, and I'm like, these are not weird questions. I'm accustomed to these questions, so it's all good. So I answer some things for her, and hopefully I'll get a couple of leads off of that. We'll see, but it was worth the time. The hotel was nice. The bed was comfy. It was certainly an upgrade from the accommodations I usually have, which is most of the time camping in the Jeep. so that was kind of cool, but I also felt a little bit like a fish out of water, because I've got like one pair of nice pants and about one or two nice shirts. So, I still just dress the way I dress. I put on the shirt without the holes in it, though. All righty, then. So, since I've been back home, we've just been right back at it. The single digits almost. We got 2 or 3 inches of snow. It was gone in a day and a half. Fortunately, it wasn't it was a minor pain in the rear, but it wasn't a tremendous issue. Mostly just annoying. And since then, we have warmed right back up again. And we were almost 70 today, if I'm not mistaken. and see what it shows is right now. What about 73? It's beautiful, running around here in a t-shirt. The sheep are in good order. So as we do, we had, thank you, StreamYard. We had, once we had nice weather, nobody decided to have one, and then we had that cold come in again. We had another birth, and then let's see, 3 days ago, I guess it was Sunday. Yeah, so Saturday, somewhere around in there. I guess it was Saturday, just this past Saturday. I was checking on the sheep, and I looked, and one of the yearlings, one of the smaller yearlings, she's running around with a two front feet and a nose sticking out. And I was like, oh wow, we got birth in progress. Cool, because I never seem to actually see them birthing. I always just seem to show up either right after the fact or it's happened overnight. And when I check on them in the morning, there's more babies out. And I had kind of a funny feeling about it. And she was obviously having contractions, and she would lay down some and she would push, and she'd stand up and walk around some more, and then she'd lay down and she'd push. And I observed this for about 45 minutes and kind of got an idea, because Tyler had been up there not long before, kind of got an idea about how long she'd been in labor. And it was kind of going on an hour. Now, for yearlings, labor for them can last anywhere from half an hour to 2 hours. But after an hour, if it doesn't look like they're making progress, you may need to intervene. So I decided to. No sense in a ewe being in trouble, a lamb being distressed. So after a little bit of creative maneuvering, we were able to catch her. Tyler and she pretty much willingly laid down, but Tyler kind of held her shoulders and check my TikTok, and I think it should be on Facebook too. But I helped deliver a little ram. She was pushing and she was having contractions, but it really wasn't pushing the lamb out. And I only had to pull a little bit. Those things are real slippery, guys, in case you didn't know. Real slippery. I was able to pull him out with about 2 rounds of contractions, and he was fine. He was born breathing and everything. Let out a little bah as soon as he came out. And I was a little bit concerned for the first hour or so, because initially that mama got up and she walked away. So we backed up, because there had been a lot of activity and everything, a lot of excitement from the other sheep. So we kind of backed up, and Tyler kind of went around and sort of coaxed her to walk back towards the baby. And then she went to the lamb, cleaned it up. She kept butting it for a little bit, for about 20 minutes or so. It would go, after it got up on its feet, it would go to nurse and she'd butt it. But I think what she was actually trying to do was clean it all the way first, then let it nurse. So we just kind of hung back and watched, and then she let it nurse, and everything's been hunky-dory since. She's been a good mom. So we will keep an eye on her for next breeding season. Hopefully she won't have an issue next time. If she continues to have issues, then she probably will be a candidate for culling, because it's not real practical. That's one of those things, like if that had been going on when I wasn't here, I don't know what the outcome would have been. And I really don't want to have to intervene even a little bit when it comes to them birthing. So, but like I said, she is small. She was probably a little too small to be bred, to be honest. So we'll see how the next round goes. And he was a big lamb too. I mean, he was a big lamb for her size. So that wasn't really, that's certainly part of the issue. So yesterday, I decided, 2 days ago, Monday, I guess, I decided to move them. Since we've been warm again, I'm, kind of keeping them moving, because I don't want, parasites and all that kind of stuff starting up. But, we've also kind of got the issue of the forage really isn't here yet. There's some weeds coming in. The privet and things like that are available, but there's not a whole lot for them to eat, and they're still primarily on hay. So I moved them down below the shop here. There's a strip of, and it's cold, it's still winter, so I want to keep them under trees. I want to keep them under the cedars and stuff for shelter. So I moved them down here under a strip of cedar and some other brushy stuff. And I say I moved them. It really didn't go that smoothly. If I'd been filming this, we would have used the clown car music as backup, as the backing track. So I needed to move them about 500 feet. So in other words, their next paddock was not adjacent to where they were. And I didn't have quite enough line to make a full, like 2 or 3 string chute. But I did make a chute, and I did put a string on it because that's what I had available. And we've got 35-ish sheep now. We've got all these babies, and the babies, they don't yet understand what in the world is going on. And this is it's not ideal to move them when we've got small lambs, but I've kind of got, like, I really don't want to leave them in any areas too long since we've been warming up. It's too much poop in one location, to put it simply. So what I figured we would do is, whoever came down would come down to the new paddock, and we'd put some sweet feed out, occupy their attention, and then we would go back and we would kind of go for like a second round. And I had Angel on the back end to kind of push them forward a little bit. Well, the older babies, they just did not understand what in the world was going on, and they just didn't want to go. We also determined that even though I had, what I do when I move them is I gather all the poly wire and I put it all the way down on the ground. So there's nothing for them to even jump over. They just have to step over. It's on the ground. I've got it held down with a couple of pavers. Well, this is not ideal. I've discovered this. It still freaks them out, which is good, certainly good in my favor. But what I've decided to do instead of having the poly wire pushed down for them to walk across is I will build the paddocks going forward where there's an in gate and an out gate, and just use I'm just going to use some alligator clips to connect my wire so that I have a continuous circuit. That'll be super easy. So, and I just need to spend $5 on some alligator clip wires. I probably even have them around here, to be honest. I don't need to buy anything. I just need to dig around for my stuff. So the babies did not know what was up. They hear the adults calling, but they can't see them from where we're at. There's too much change in elevation. And there were 2 adults that just exited the chute altogether and just wandered off somewhere else to eat. And to give myself a little bit of credit, I was not as freaked out as I would have been a couple of years ago, because I was, my main thing is like, oh God, what if they run off and they never come back? Well, sheep aren't going to do that. In most cases, they're not going to do that because they want to be in a group. They might walk off somewhere for a short amount of time to check out something tasty, but eventually their flocking instinct is going to kick back in. So I didn't even really worry about the 2 that were off, having a snack. Tyler came up to help, and he picked up the youngest one, which that was my plan all along. Was one of us, we're just going to carry the baby down. And we figured if we carry the baby, his mama, who's going to stay with him anyhow, would kind of lead the others down. And that's more or less what happened. So Tyler's got this baby lamb, 3-day-old lamb under his arm. And his mother, keeps calling and calling and calling. And that kind of activated the other lambs. They're like, oh, we stay together. We go together. Okay. And it really was only about 15 minutes of shenanigans. It seemed like longer, but when I looked at my phone, it really wasn't. So we got everybody rounded back up. Prim took a small unauthorized tour. So when we had all this, when we had shenanigans going on and I didn't have everybody together, I got more sweet feed and I went back to get the second group that hadn't moved yet. And I had closed the initial gate to the new paddock where I had 2 strands of wire set. And because the third strand was serving as part of the chute. And I turn around at one point and Prim's not in the new paddock anymore. She's come back up the hill, I guess, to see what's going on. I was like, Prim, that means you jumped over 2 wires. Because I got back down there and they weren't pushed over, they weren't broken. It means that she jumped because she gets excited. She gets, especially right now, she gets excited when she moves because I think she really gets bored. So she gets excited about a new space to explore, and she jumps and gallops around and jumped right over that fence. The good thing with Prim is she is wearing her halter, and while she doesn't really want to be led, if I hold her head, if I hold her halter, she will not fight. She'll just stand there and she will respond to a bucket of feed. So there was a little bit of, getting our ducks in a row, as it were, but we got everybody situated after not too long of a time. And so, yeah, they're down here having a big, kind of privet party, which is kind of prolific in the area that they're in right now. And I'm hoping to be able to keep them there for a little bit. It's pretty big space, plenty of room for everybody, for before it gets overpopulated with poop. And I mean, I get it. Like, they're restless, they're aggravated, they want fresh stuff to eat, they're tired of being on hay. I'm even going, area like in the garden and stuff. I'm pulling out different weeds. The bitter cress is up. All of the little ground cover weeds that come up this time of year. I've been pulling that stuff up and filling buckets and taking it to them just so they have something fresh. Because I guess I just kind of feel bad for them. They really want fresh food, but we're not quite there yet. It's going to be a few more weeks before that stuff really kicks off. So I've been trying to give them a little bit of a salad bar every day. I should have done this at the top of the show, but we'll go ahead and cover it. So we've got an agroforestry class coming up and our gathering coming up this weekend. So Saturday is the agroforestry class. That is going to be here on the farm, 10 a.m. to about 2 p.m. Kind of a 2-part thing. We're calling it a lunch and learn. So we're going to feed you lunch. We'll have coffee and tea and all that kind of good stuff. We will do a initial tour. We're going to kind of describe how we're doing our shoot program here. And my friend Wynn Miller from Appalachian Sustainable Development, she will be here, and she is going to lead on what is agroforestry silvopasture, why we want to do it, why it makes sense to implement it in our region. And she's also going to go over funding opportunities that are out there for grant monies pertaining to that. We will do a little bit of light clearing. I won't put anybody into anything crazy. And we're working in an area where I've already addressed 99% of the really uncomfortable stuff, like brambles and multiflora rose. That stuff is already out. But we do need to take down some bush honeysuckle, privet, the usual suspects around here. And we will be planting some trees. So we'll have a removal portion, a planting portion. Very low key. If you don't want to work, you don't have to work. You can just come, learn, listen, have some food. We've got about 13, 14 people signed up at this point, and we can accommodate about 10 more. So please let me know if you'd like to come out to that. Email me, strongrootsresources@gmail.com, and I will send you the address and directions. 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on Saturday the 1st. March 2nd, Sunday, noon to 4. Open house. Tour. First 2 hours, usually tour, walkabout, Q&A, whatever. We will have food as well. We'll usually eat around 2 o'clock. Fellowship, barter, trading, whatever you want to do, networking. I've got about 10 people who have contacted me, about 10 new people. And typically we also have, some friends and other folks in the network come out here. So that's on Sunday. If you want to do both, do both. I don't care. It's all good. Come out and eat some food and learn about what we're up to out here. Uh, I'll catch you guys up on a few more bits of farm and business news before I go in to have my dinner. But we, the chickens, my 4 chickens that I have remaining, have decided to start laying eggs again. Finally, I haven't seen an egg since October. Had 2 eggs today, so that's encouraging. So they're back to earning their keep a little bit because they've been freeloading for a while, with the exception of making compost. So they, I deep litter their chicken arch, so they do make soil for me. And since we are defrosted, I can get in there soon and be sifting out some soil amendment, potting soil, and that sort of thing. I had a friend come out today. A lady came out today who reached out to me recently. She wants to help out from time to time in exchange for learning. She helped me prune some fruit trees, and we also inoculated mushroom logs and did 100 plugs of some oysters. And then I wrapped up with, I did a few more that were chicken of the woods plugs, 100 of those. Got those stacked up and everything sealed, waxed over, and hopeful to, in fact, that reminds me, I got to make a note. There will be there's a bit of a process to these. You got to soak them and shock them so many weeks out. Make a note to do that. But that was easy peasy. I had logs piled up for like 3 weeks now. And every time I started to do it, it was either like way too cold, way too wet, snowy, or fill in the blank, or too dark. So got those squared away. Got a little more mulching done in the food forest. Pretty much got that, this side of the driveway, got that mulched with the remainder of the bag leaves, and got it pruned. Looking, I just got to haul off my trimmings. I'm going to use my peach wood. Actually, going to trim my peach wood down for smoking. I figure, it's probably kind of like cherry, right? Stone fruit in my book. So we will set that aside for running the smoker. Oh, I totally forgot about kind of one of the bigger things I've taken on lately, relatively speaking. My animal processing skills, like I'm decent enough with, the rabbits, small animals, birds, but I haven't done a whole lot on my own. I haven't done a whole lot on my own with the bigger animals. And not that this counted as a bigger animal, but we had an older lamb who would not obey the fence. And I made sure the fence was working correctly, tested it, did all that good stuff, even hooked up the extra big charger with the extra big shock. He did not care about that. He was still pushing under the fence. He would look right at me and he would push under the fence. And I was like, well, this is not going to get any better as you get bigger. He'd already broken off a couple of tabs, a couple of hooks on my posts, and had pushed the fence enough to one point where it was pushed against the T-post and grounded out my charger altogether. So he became food, trying to make this YouTube friendly. But I was able to dispatch in the field, and with a little bit of help from one of Billy Bond's processing videos. Billy, thank you for that. That processing video is just right for what I needed to do. And I actually ended up smoking it whole. Just decided to skin and gut, smoked it whole, and then parted it out. And it was good. It was good. And, that was one of those things where ideally I would have liked that animal to get bigger, but can't have that behavior. It leads to really big problems, can lead to everybody deciding not to obey the fence. So, like they say, into the freezer you go. And that's what we did. So that was a way, because I've been going on for like a week or more. and I had not had the time. Like, it was starting to happen when I was out of town. And then it seemed like, I had a job that day, because I really wanted to be able to take a few hours to do it right and not feel rushed. So I was glad to kind of check that off. Hopefully that behavior stops. Nobody else starts to pull that stunt. They're on the big charger right now. They're where their paddock is close enough that I can get my extension cord down to where their post is. So if any of the older lambs get curious again, hopefully we can deliver a reminder about why we stay in the fence. Oh, let's see. I think I'm probably going to wrap it up here, guys. I just kind of want to get you caught up on a few things, mention the classes. Holler at me if you'd like to come out to any of the classes. I've got foraging classes. The first one's going to be on the 8th, March 8th. Everything is on the website, so check there. If you're looking for installation work, consulting, homestead education, everything regenerative, we are working always with the principles of permaculture. We are always working in a way that we are following nature's example, and I help teach you why we're doing that along the way. Please reach out to me. Everything's at strongrootsresources.com. And sorry for the very screwball scheduling, but I will get it back on track next week. So y'all have a great night. We'll talk to you next time.